Hello everyone, welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name's Steve Jackson and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello Steve, it's great to see you today as ever, and back-to-back weeks of podcasting as well. I like it.
Absolutely, and also you've given me control of the admin studio, so this could go completely pear-shaped, so we apologise now if it does.
Yes,
thank you.
It will be fine. It will be fine. Steve is the admin. You don't really need me anymore, Steve. To be honest, you can just do it by yourself.
You're here for the good looks.
No, I'm not. Right, what are we got coming up today, Steve?
Yes, so this is the 49th Progress Junior Golf podcast. So we are one away from the half century.
We're going to get it in, aren't we, before the end of the year?
We're going to try and get in before the end of the year, yes. But look, it's the 49th, but it's still a big one. As always, we talk about junior golf. So this podcast is about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. Now, in general, the show gives advice to people within the golf industry about how to get the best out of junior golf. You know, we cover lots of different subjects within junior golf. This show is interactive. I'll let you explain the details of how people can get involved
yes.
onto the show.
Yeah, and please do, by the way, as Steve said, interact. We want to hear from you. The live chat is open at Live Sport Now. And in fact, wherever you're watching, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. But in order for us to guarantee that we're going to see your comment, YouTube is the best place to do it. A couple of ways you can do it. Very simple. There's a QR code just above Steve's head. Scan that. It'll take you straight through to Live Sport Now on YouTube. You can watch this video, comment in the live chat. It's just next to the video or beneath it. Just say hello. Type whatever you want. Give us your 2 pence worth. We want to hear from you. Do comment on Facebook, Twitter as well. We are live across all of those channels. But YouTube is the best place so we don't miss it. There is also a link in the body of this broadcast wherever you're watching it too. And if you do want to find out more about Progress Junior Golf at any point, you can head over to the website. There is a link in the body of this broadcast. It will take you straight there. Steve, back to you.
Yes. So we say this show is interactive, but generally speaking, the majority of cases, we don't really know who watches the program. We don't really know whether they are taking heed of the advice that we give them out. But that's going to change for this show because, well, a few weeks ago, I received an email from Michael Lewis. He was taken over as the junior organizer at his golf club, which is Towneley Golf Club in Burnley. Have you ever been there, Ian?
No.
Nope, I have. I'll show a few photos. I have.
It looks very nice. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the photos that you've seen are the ones which you're going to show a little bit later because I've actually been there. I didn't play it, but I was there taking a few photos. So anyway, but Michael contacted me. He wanted a little bit of advice. He'd just taken over as a junior organizer. He wanted to know what he should do, what the club should do. And now, of course, I could have just replied and said, you know, this is what you should do. And I just felt, well, actually, more people probably do with this advice and get access to it. So I thought, you know, this is information which we need to put out on the show. So I thought, let's get him on the show, let him explain what the situation with his club is, and then we can go through what he should do as a junior organizer and what the club should do about trying to organize the juniors of this club. And that's what we're going to do. But as always with the Progress Junior Golf podcast, we give different perspectives as well. So the subject is about junior organising, as we say. So we're going to be joined by Charles Gunn, who has been the junior organiser at Peterborough Milton Golf Club for many years and very, very successfully as well. So brings a wealth of experience of what he did at that club with the help of Derek Manklow, who helps him out. So get his point of view as well. But as always, we try and get a junior perspective as well. I did a pre-recorded interview with England Golf Young Ambassador Chloe Saunders, who came through the junior section at her club, and she actually now wants to become the junior organizer at her club. So that's fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. So great to hear a junior perspective and someone who obviously, you know, must have been inspired by what happened at her club and wants to go on and do that. So that's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering junior golf, and we're going to be doing something which hopefully we're going to get we're going to get someone who's going to be taking our advice and or not, you know, you never know. They might turn around and go, well, actually, what we think is right. They might think it doesn't work with their club, but let's hope that they do. So, yes, fascinating. It's going to be a podcast. Right. First things first, though, let's do the latest junior golf news then. Now, it is only a week since we did the last junior golf podcast, as you mentioned there. So, no competition results since then, but still some important news to cover, though. England Golf, then, they have announced their shortlist for the England Golf Young Ambassador of the Year awards. So not all of these are Not all of these are junior categories. 10 categories altogether, though, but lots of them do involve juniors at all. As you see there, it's the 15th. It'll be taking place on February the 13th up in Manchester. Now, it's actually England Golf's 100th anniversary, so it'll be fascinating and really important year for them. But as we mentioned there, they've got 10 categories. Like I say, some of them really don't have any junior aspect to it at all, but a lot of them do, and that's very interesting, the fact that there's big emphasis on trying to promote junior golf. So I'll just go through some of the ones. The Diversity and Inclusion Champion of the Year Award, that's one. The Participation and Development Coach of the Year Award, that's another one as well. Actually, one person has been nominated for both of those, so well done to Alistair from Love.golf, who got a double the check. You'd actually be a bit disappointed if you didn't win one, if bearing in mind you'd been nominated for two, but well done on being nominated for two then. Right, other events though, or other categories though, which have cropped up, which do have a junior nomination. Performance of the Year, Chris Kim, who won the British Boys Amateur Championship this year, the McGregor Trophy and the Fairhaven Trophy, and was also a member of the Europe's winning Junior Ryder Cup team. So he's been nominated, one of the 3 nominations for him. So well done to Chris. Sustainability Project of the Year, the junior organiser at Kenwick Park Golf Club, which is in Lincolnshire, Nick Fox, has been nominated. And obviously we are going to be talking about junior organisers during the podcast. So if you do a good job as being the junior organiser, you might get nominated for some of these.
There you go.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So well done to Nick. Women and Girls Trailblazer, once again 3 nominations, but one of them has gone to Molly Moore from Reigate Hill Golf Club down in your neck of the woods, down in
Reigate's not too far from me.
And she's got a package there called Girls Golf Excellence. So obviously something which is trying to get more girls into the game there. Now, but the interesting one though, 5 categories here, and all of them, all 3 nominations, heavily involved with junior golf. So Club of the Year, so Bedfordshire Golf Club, they've been nominated. They held a Shires Junior Golf Tour event for me this year. So
is that certain criteria, Steve? We talk about Golf Club of the Year. There's obviously got to be certain criteria, and I wonder if the how they develop juniors is a big part of that for England Golf.
You would have thought.
Interesting to see what the criteria is.
Yeah, you would have thought so. It certainly won't go against them if you do. But it was very much noticeable on their profile on the England Golf website, the fact that it was almost the first line in all of their profiles was the fact that we back junior golf. So obviously it must be a very, very big high criteria as far as the nomination. The fact that, look, if you do, then that's what we're interested in seeing. So Bedfordshire Golf was one of them. Royal Ascot Golf Club in Berkshire, and Black.
That is down the road from me. Yeah.
And another one, it's not too far away from you. Blackness Golf and Country Club, which is in Hampshire.
Yeah. County
of the Year, once again, very similar. All of them mentioned junior golf in their little profile. Buckinghamshire, Devon, and Hertfordshire, the 3 which are up for nomination for that. Tournament venue of the year. This is one which surprised me, because you would expect that some of the big tournaments, England Golf, you could be any one of the tournaments. All 3 of them junior events which have been nominated. So Moore Park Golf Club, which hosted the Carriage Trophy, which is the boys under-18 championship. The Caversham, which hosted the English under-18 girls championship. And Shifnal, which hosted the English girls under-16s, under-14 championship. So we've definitely got a junior venue which is going to win that one then. So, and then the last 2, once again, Volunteer of the Year. Actually, very interesting the fact that the 3 nominations for this category, all female, and the 3 nominations for the last category as well, all female as well. So I don't know whether that is something which we are going to be talking about junior organisers, whether there should be more males who are getting involved, as opposed to leaving it almost to the females. But anyway, Volunteer of the Year, the Abby Frodsham from Wallasey Golf Club is in Cheshire, Linda Green from Torquay Golf Club in Cheshire, and Melissa Clapham from Romiley in Cheshire. So 2 golf clubs in Cheshire there. So obviously they must have some very, very, lots of volunteers in Cheshire and doing really well there. Right, last one then, and dare I say it, the most important one, shall we say, Young Volunteer of the Year Award then. This was won, if we remember, by someone who is very close to Peterborough Milton Golf Club, Charles Gunn, who's going to be coming on and talking about his golf club, because it was won by a member of that golf club last year. Anyway, Freya Allen from Elsham Golf Club, she's just 12 years old, and she's been up. So absolutely, Freya, Maria Tiffany Thompson from Brockton Hall, which is in Staffordshire, and Rika Verma from South Staffordshire. She's an England Golf Young Ambassador, and Rika hopefully will be coming on the podcast early in the new year to be talking about her nomination, but also talking about some other things as well. Right, finally, one last thing to cover then in the junior golf news. Junior Solheim Cup then. Europe won this competition last year. They've announced the qualification process for the competition next year. So Europe looking to win it for a third year in the row. This time it will be taking place over in the US. So this basically is female golfers aged between 12 and 18, 12 players. The match will take place on September the 8th to the 10th at Army Navy Country Club in Arlington. And the qualifying criteria, basically, 6 players will qualify automatically, and then there'll be 6 captains' picks. Yeah. And they've picked out the 9 events which will qualify for it. And very international, because there aren't too many in the UK. So it starts with the Portuguese International Ladies Amateur Championship. That's in January. Then the Spanish International Ladies. Then the French International Ladies. Then the German Girls Open. That's in June. The Annika Invitational, which I assume is in Sweden, but that might be me just taking a bit of a wild guess there.
You would guess that. Yeah.
Women's Amateur Championship, that takes place in June as well. Then 3 other events in July: the European Ladies Team Amateur Championship, the European Girls Team Championship, and the European Ladies Amateur Championship. That takes place on July the 24th to the 27th, and then the team will be announced immediately after that. So good luck to everyone trying to qualify for that.
Did you know, Steve? Yeah, definitely good luck to everybody, all the nominees and credit to England Golf actually, because it seems, they really are pushing the junior side of things as well. They should as well, but good on them for actually backing it up and following through with a plan. So very, very good work from England Golf. It looks like that is going to be a nice night. Let me just have a look. Still haven't received an invite to it though.
The Progress Junior Golf podcast has not quite got an invite just yet, but
we could do it there live, Steve. We could do it there live from Manchester.
We could do, yes, absolutely, yeah. The invite, we are more than happy to do a Progress Junior Golf podcast on there. Actually, it'd be fascinating, wouldn't it?
I actually have a little bit of junior news as well. Although it's not actually golf related, but it sort of is. Do you remember a while ago we did a podcast about juniors and other sports, and it wasn't just golf? Well, on this Saturday, I am presenting the awards for the Junior Saloon Car Championship. So it's for race drivers between the age of 14 and 17. And I'm presenting the awards. And I just thought it was very apt to bring it up and say, because very similar, both actually quite sort of mature sports, aren't they? Golf is obviously, it's golf. Has a certain reputation. A motorsport, you wouldn't think you'd get a bunch of 14, 15, 16 and 17-year-olds hurtling around Silverstone and Thruxton and Brands Hatch, but they do. So I'm very much looking forward to that and seeing the next crop of sports stars come through. And you never know, they might work their way into golf one day as well. Slightly
different sport, though. I would say that golf is probably less dangerous, shall we say, than but probably not as exciting or as exhilarating.
I would actually say, though, I probably shouldn't say this, golf is a lot harder. I would probably have to guess, though. Not to say motorsport is easy, because it certainly isn't. But I think you can almost get away with a perfect lap, but you can't get away with a perfect hole in golf. It just doesn't exist, does it?
No. Right, that wraps up the junior golf news list for this week. Then we are going to be doing a podcast now on junior golf organisers. Ian's going to leave us because he needs to go and take his wife somewhere or something like that. I don't know. But we will have.
I wonder.
Yes, absolutely, yes. But we'll see you soon, Ian, because we'll obviously be doing one more podcast between now and the end of the year. So have a good Christmas if it's not before Christmas.
I'm sure we'll see each other before, Steve. And to be honest, nobody's here. Nobody's watching this podcast to see me. They want to see the guests. That's who they want to see. So
let's get them on straight away, basically. Right. Okay. So got our guests here then. So Charles Gunn, who's the junior organiser at Peterborough Milton Golf Tour, and Michael Lewis, who's just taken over as the junior organiser at Towneley Golf Club up in Burnley. We're going to hear from Chloe Saunders as well, who's an England Golf Young Ambassador as well. I suppose first things first then, let's get a little bit of background information then. We'll start with you, Michael, then, because you're new to the role, if you like. Just explain your background in golf and how you became the junior organiser at Towneley.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, first of all. I've been playing golf since just after COVID, believe it or not, and I took it up after COVID. I was a Man City, well, I still am a Man City fan. When COVID started, I needed something to do. So myself and my wife took up golf at Towneley, our local club. never picked up a golf club before, so really new to it, thrown ourselves into it, and I've been playing at Towneley there ever since, played a few more courses around the country. And then I noticed at the club that there was gaps still, and there was sort of roles up for grabs, and nobody were coming forward on them. So I put myself out on a whim, put myself forward for the junior organiser, got elected. No experience whatsoever in that field, so I'm finding my feet still, and I'm trying to, like a sponge, trying to get as much knowledge and information off everyone that I can to make it a success. And yeah, my wife did the same. She's the safeguarding officer for the club as well. So hand in hand, we've really tried getting involved in the club, and this is something I'm passionate about, because our club at Towneley, it'll be like many clubs. The junior section is sort of, we have juniors, but there's no structure to it, even on the website, etc. We're building that now, so it's almost like a blank canvas for me to actually to build upon. And yeah, it's going to be a big task, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. Okay,
well, obviously this is something which we can help you out with that. Bring Charles in then. Obviously Charles very different in the sense of a lot of experience, and in particular, I don't know exactly how many years, but been the junior organiser at Peterborough now for I think over a decade at least. Anyway, so just explain your background and how you became the junior organiser at Peterborough.
Yeah, so my background, Steve, is that I've been playing golf since I was about 9. Actually, in those days, you weren't allowed to join a golf club until you were 12. So I joined Peterborough Milton when I was 12. Had a huge amount of support from parents and junior organisers who ran me all around the country for 6 years. And when I retired in 2014, I just felt I wanted to put something back. And I've been junior organiser with co-junior organiser Derek, who's actually been in it for nearly 19 years now. And we run it between us, and it's hugely rewarding, and I'd encourage anyone to get involved.
Okay, so obviously very different background there with Michael, who just got into golf very, very quickly, and Charles, who, dare I ask it, Charles, I'm not going to ask your age and that, but I'm guessing probably 40, 50 years playing golf. Is that about right?
I joined the golf club in 1970, yeah.
So yeah, right, let's hear from Chloe then. Chloe Saunders, who's an England Golf Young Ambassador, slightly different obviously because she's only 17 years of age. Let's hear how she got into golf.
I first got into golf when I was 13. I started by attending like junior coaching sessions at my local club once a week, so on like a Saturday.
Why did you get involved then? What first attracted you to do that?
It was more because my dad played. So my dad's like restarted playing golf after a break, and he was like, why don't you give it a go? So I went down and just tried the junior lessons there.
This podcast is about junior organisers, and presumably when you first went down there was someone, you mentioned the profession there, but there was a junior organiser who helped organise those sessions at a club. Just explain what they did and how they helped you.
Well, as soon as I started, the junior organiser was always involved, sort of thing, so it was very useful. I was always involved in like the competitions, like externally against other clubs and in the league matches, etc. So they're definitely helpful, and like getting their juniors involved with me as well, and like getting me in the involved with the club with the other juniors.
Presumably you didn't have a handicap when you first started playing. No. So how much of involvement did they have in trying to get you to, you mentioned competitions there, obviously that's one way or the way to get your handicap. Just explain how a junior organiser helped you do that.
I don't really know if there was much involvement from the junior organiser getting my handicap. It was more like I just did rounds with my dad and like got the handicap signed off sort of thing. So, but then as soon as I did get the handicap, obviously I was straight away into the league matches. And I mean, even before I had a handicap, I was playing with the junior section anyway, which was what the junior organiser arranged. So
even at that early stage when you didn't have a handicap, that's something whereby you were allowed to play alongside those players who did have one. Is that correct then, was it?
Yeah, 100%.
And how helpful was that, the fact that you could learn from them?
Yeah, I did definitely learn from them in the sense that the juniors would like be accepting of the fact that I didn't have a handicap. They weren't like horrible about it. And
just to explain, how many girls were there in that session? Were you the only one? Was there a mix of boys and girls?
From the like academy coaching, I don't really remember how like the ratio between girl and boy, because like I had my younger sister there, for example. That's the only person that I remember being there. But other than that, there was like one other actual junior who's now like moved on from the junior section anyway. But yeah, there was only one other girl that was like properly involved in the junior section.
But that's obviously key, isn't it? The fact that to try and interact both the boys and girls, and obviously with the situation with yourself, is it the same with the younger sister as well, in the sense of it worked with you, in the sense of you felt as if you were part of it, you didn't feel as if you were the girls and they were the boys, if you saw what I mean?
No, definitely not. And I think that's what is so good about junior golf, is that it's the junior section, not the men's or the women's. It's like a whole, and it brings like everyone together. So I think it was quite beneficial.
So that's obviously Chloe there talking about her background of how she got into golf. We will hear more from Chloe as this podcast goes on. Actually, let's start with you then, Michael. Obviously, almost let's start chronologically here. You've obviously just taken over the club. We're obviously going to hopefully give you a little bit of advice about how you can become, a good junior organiser. How many juniors are at the club? How many at the moment are you dealing with?
There's 10 at the moment, and there's various levels of ability as well, and ages. With ours, we have there's a separate entity towards apart from Towneley. It's Burn Leisure, and they put on like elite, junior elite classes. So they take them to the driving range from a very young age up to sort of 12-year-old. So it's really, I'm winding my way through a lot of roads at the moment, because there's almost two sections. They're a member of the Burnley Leisure. They're also a member of Towneley Golf Course. So there's two separate elements I'm trying to maneuver around at the moment. So yeah, at the moment there's 10, but there's another 10 which are actual really young individuals as well.
And what kind of age are we talking here? Are we talking 6, 7, 8, 9, the youngest ones?
Yeah, the youngest ones I said is around 5-year-old, up to our oldest junior is 17.
And it goes without saying, there's a massive difference between a 5-year-old and a 17-year-old. So let's bring Charles in here, because obviously that's the situation you have at Peterborough, Milton. With larger numbers, it has to be said. But you obviously do deal with those younger ones very differently than you do the ones who are the better players, the older ones. So let's start with those younger ones then. Obviously, Michael's got some younger ones at his club. When they first come to the club, how do you have to deal with them?
Well, the first thing, Michael, is if you can have a good relationship with the professional and get the professional involved. So we do beginners coaching, which is very much kids who haven't even picked a golf club up, but have got an interest through their parents or grandparents or through knowing something about the club. And we start off with the real basics, out on the driving range, spaced very well apart. We ask parents to come along as well, just to keep an eye on golf clubs being swung when they shouldn't be swung and so on. And we start with the basics. We get them to just hit a golf ball, and we look at the grip, and we look at the swing and so on. And I'm very lucky that I've got two professionals who get involved. So they do long game one week with Adam, and they do short game the next week with Sam, and then we swap around.
And so just on that point, Charles, Michael, do you have a professional at Towneley?
We do. He's shared his Burnley Leisure, so he works for Burnley Leisure, so that he looks after various clubs within the borough, which I believe is up to 3/4 clubs he actually looks at. So Towneley does not have their own professional golfer.
But is that a conversation you've had with him about trying to get him more involved and do what Charles is suggesting there, trying to get coaching sessions at the club?
Yeah, we have coaching sessions at the Prairie. at the driving range, but they're the very, very young individuals. It seems to me then at the age of sort of 10 upwards is where my role almost is the sticking point, because it's the sort of the infrastructure at the club isn't there for them yet. It's sort of dwindled, so that's where I need the advice and the help and the coaching side of it. Yeah, it's a great shout, that.
I mean, it's a good point actually that it raises there, isn't it, Charles? The fact that, I mean, in theory, you as the junior organiser don't get involved with the coaching side, so it's more you a case of trying to set that up and get the professional involved, so therefore they can take that on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do get a little bit involved, and I have actually got PGA level 1, but that is just the very basics. So the professionals are the professionals, and they're the guys to guide them through. But it's also interesting that I don't think Adam would mind me saying this. When I started working with Adam, he was pretty new to teaching juniors, and he's learnt an awful lot over the last 10 years. And probably the biggest thing we've done is made it fun. So the kids come and they have fun, and they go home hopefully smiling and laughing. And that's the way to get them engaged, really. Okay.
Simple question on that point then, and this is obviously something which Michael can take some notes on. How do you make it fun?
So we play games. So we do, let's say we do putting. So we do a bit of putting technique, and then we set some bollards out on the on the green, and we do 10-pin bowling. So if you hit the front bollard, you take it away, and we have two teams, the yellows and the reds. Over on the long game, we do a game called On the Tee. So we call them on the tee like a professional tournament, and we do something like, here's James, he's just won the US Masters, or here's Ellie, she's the latest long driving champion. So we just make it a bit of fun.
Is that something which you think that you can bring in at your club, Michael, in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. No, they're great points then, and it's like I said, it's building up that foundations to how we actually achieve that.
And at Peterborough, Milton, Charles, you've obviously got those ones there, and at that stage, at that young age, they haven't got a handicap. And how easy, how difficult is it to get from that stage to get them out onto a golf course for the first time?
We're lucky with our facilities in that around the outside of our driving range, we have a 6-hole course, which is every hole is about 100 yards. So we can get the kids playing on that, and Adam and myself really assess if they're ready to go onto the main golf course. But there's two things about the main golf course. One, Michael, if you can, have a look at something called Golf Sixes, which the Golf Foundation run. It's a brilliant way of getting kids involved. It gives you all the advice about setting up the course to only have 100-yard, 150-yard holes. And that's a way to do it. But the other thing we've done is we've put academy tees out on the golf course. And it's literally a post in the rough. It's usually about 150 yards from the green. So when the very young golfers first go out on the course, they tee off from only 150 yards from the green. Even on a par 5, they start from 150 yards. Two benefits of that is they quickly start scoring 4s and 5s and 6s rather than 10s and 12s and 13s. But also speed of play. They're not taking half an hour to play a hole and people behind them getting frustrated. From 150 yards, it's only going to take them 10 minutes to play the hole, and they can walk to the next 150-yard marker. So that really helps us get youngsters out on the golf course.
Is that something you already have in place at your golf club, Michael? Are there those tees already there?
Yeah, we're quite lucky at Towneley. So we have an actual 18-hole pitch and putt alongside the main golf course, which is really beneficial. We've also this year now, one of my first points was to get the blue tees out, and they are the first 6 holes, so they are about 150 yards, which is really beneficial. I remember my first time I went around with them, we walked and said, right, here's where we start from. Now they can actually go out with the parents at any time, and they can start from the blue tees. So yeah, that was one of the first steps that we've introduced is actually the blue tees.
And Charles mentioned as well about the Golf Sixes. Were you aware of the Golf Sixes?
No, I've made a note of that.
Okay.
So that's something, I'll be taking up.
So just explain a little bit more about that then, Charles. So the Golf Sixes, for those people aware, the name Golf Sixes is that generally it's just a little 6-hole competition. It tends to be pairs, so therefore and it can be boy or girl, 2 girls, 2 boys, or wherever it is, and they play alternative shots. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, it's basically Texas Scramble format in pairs. So 2, and you have 3 pairs from each club. And so they both tee off the first and they pick the best shot. So it helps that a bad shot doesn't matter too much because your partner might hit a decent shot. And then we have some special rules, and it's done nationally, and the rules are consistent across the country. So if you go in a bunker and you both leave it in the bunker twice, you can throw the next one out. And then we have special rules. If it goes in the deep rough, we let them drop it on the edge of the rough. If they both lose the ball, they can drop it up where they think the ball was. And there's a maximum score of 10 on a hole as well. So again, it's just kept good fun. They play 6 holes, takes about an hour and a half maybe. And they go in. We usually do food afterwards, then a little prize presentation, and it doesn't take too long. And I keep using that word fun, but it is good fun.
And also, this is a scheme which is backed by England Golf. And we actually did, I think, the Golf Foundation, one of the 2 of them, which actually organises it, isn't it?
Yeah, Golf Foundation organise it, and England Golf support it. Yeah.
So obviously you'll get backing from them if you want to go on their website. For anyone else who's watching who wants to find out a little bit more about information about that, there's a website as well to get more information there. So obviously we've spoken a little bit there about the younger golfers then. So that transition then from playing 6-hole competitions to possibly thinking I might be able to get a handicap here. So that transition from playing 6 holes to 9 holes. How would Michael go about working that at his golf club, Charles?
Well, again, generally the professional lets me know that he thinks someone's ready to start getting a handicap. Obviously, the parents sometimes let you know as well. And you really need to say, well, they're ready to go off the... In our case, we've had the red tees assessed for males and females. So the boys and the girls can both start off the red tees. So when you think they're ready to do that and they can score 7s and 8s from those tees, we tend to recommend doing 9-hole sessions because you need 54 holes to get a handicap. So you can do 9 holes, do another 9 holes, and over a month or so, hopefully do 6 9 holes. And then we put that into the system and it allocates a handicap. Highest it will be is 54, but often the first handicaps are 46, 47. And then we start to run we call them red tee competitions, but they're for the younger boys and girls who've got those first handicaps.
Also, England Golf are changing the way that they do their handicap sloping rating now with golf courses now. And I'm intrigued to find out with yourself, Michael. You say you've got a par 3 golf course there. The way that they're doing it now is that some of those golf courses, as long as they're long enough and they don't have to be that long, can now be handicap qualified. I don't know whether your golf course has actually had that rating done yet, or whether you know whether it would be ready to be a handicap qualifier.
No, I don't believe it has. So that's something I didn't realise. That's something I'll be taking up with the secretary. It's a very good point, that.
Yeah, so something to look out for, because suddenly then your par 3 golf course, you won't necessarily. I mean, obviously you're very lucky in the sense that you have a par 3 golf course there. It's the fact that they might be able to get their handicap playing on that par 3 course as opposed to like Charles mentioned there, whereby you might have to go on the main course and do a 9-hole round of golf. But there are different ways of going about it, kind of thing. So, okay, so let's say you've got those players now. They've started getting their first handicap. Something which you mentioned there, Charles. First competitions, the first opportunities to actually play and improve their handicap. How do you run those competitions?
Generally, to start with, we do 9-hole competitions. and there's actually a halfway house that I sometimes do as well. So we have the golf sixes tees at 100, 150 yards. Sometimes if I don't think someone's quite ready for red tees, and I think it's very important in the early days not to have someone have a bad experience. So if you think someone's perhaps not quite ready for red tees, even though they've maybe got a 54 handicap, then stick some tees out at 250 yards and just let them play initially from those. And we don't worry too much about them being World Handicap System qualifiers. So we just do a stable foot and see who gets the best scores. So 9-hole red tee competitions is the first sort of formal competitions. And what we tend to do is if we have a 18-hole competition for the older juniors, then at the back of the field, the younger juniors go out and do a 9-hole competition. And it can work quite well for timing. They can finish roughly the same time and we can do the 9-hole prizes and then the 18-hole prizes.
You've obviously, at your golf club, Michael, you've only got at the moment 10, possibly up to 20 juniors. Do you actually have any junior competitions within the diary at the moment?
No, there's none in there at the moment. And that's one of me. I have a checklist, and that's one of my actions to actually carry out is speak to the other local clubs and see if we can tap into that as well, what competitions their juniors go in. We have one player who actually is in the county league, so he goes off and plays on them ones. But apart from that, they can join the Tuesday competitions with the male adults. But apart from that, there is no other competitions.
It's interesting that Charles made the point there of not giving them a bad experience or trying to limit that chance of having a bad experience. In your experience, Charles, having juniors playing in those adult competitions perhaps too earlier age, can that sometimes put them off? So is it you have to be a little bit wary of trying to rely on adult competitions for juniors to play in?
Yeah, very much so. I've seen it happen. I've seen a young lad get thrown in too soon. Parents really pushed him to play in a white tee competition, and we didn't see a lot of him after that. So yeah, I think you have to be very careful.
So that conversation, which and the irony about it was, I was actually at a golf club yesterday talking to a golf club who didn't have it, very similar with yourself, Michael, didn't have any junior competitions on their diary, and they were asking for me a little bit of advice, and I'm hoping they're going to watch this because I told them to watch this tomorrow night or tonight. What conversation do you have with the club secretary when you're trying to set up those competitions, Charles? What competition? I know they're probably already set up when you came into the role, but what kind of conversation do you have to have with the secretary to try and get those competitions right for the juniors?
Well, I think again, relationship is really important because one of the things that I always try and do is book a bit of a buffer zone behind the competition as well. So you might need 6 tee times, but I'm lucky that I can usually book 10 or 11 tee times, just so you haven't got that 4-ball right behind them on the first tee. And so it's important to have a good relationship with your secretary. Again, we're quite lucky being a private members golf club, as opposed perhaps to a golf club that relies on green fees for the majority of their income, where tee times are obviously very precious. And also just little things like I try and make sure that even if I've got a half-hour gap, I'm back at the first tee when the first adults tee off and say, don't rush, guys, because you're going to be straight up behind the juniors. Just take your time. And again, that's part of having a reasonable experience. I think that you're not pressured by people behind and so on.
Is that a conversation you've had as yet with your club secretary, Michael, about junior competitions for next year?
Yeah, so he's very good and he's very supportive of this. So we allocated out on a Friday evening when it was summer. We allocated out tee times to the juniors so they could come experience the golf course on the blue tees. So that we implemented that and we booked out a solid booking of that. We're looking into Sunday mornings to The ladies tee off on a Sunday morning. We're looking to allocate some tee times before the ladies tee off, because they play at a lovely pace. As you say, some adults might turn up and actually start hitting balls near the juniors, which I'm very cautious of actually pressurising them into going too fast. And I know with myself, if I play too fast, it all goes wrong. So I can only imagine what they feel like.
Okay, let's hear from Chloe again. Then Chloe Saunders, who's an England Golf Young Ambassador. I had a chat with her yesterday, and we spoke about a few different things. But we're talking about county matches and also county leagues and county competitions. This is what she had to say on the subject.
So, like, being involved with like the county leagues and stuff against other clubs, it was like really good to see other clubs as well. So that was like the first opportunity I really got from like trying out new like golf clubs, because I've never really been anywhere else other than my home club. So I felt like that was good to also meet new juniors, especially more girls as well. So like having other clubs involved, it really helps, widen that whole junior like community, really.
Like I say, that this podcast is about the junior organiser. How much of an important role did they play in that, in making sure that those matches were well organised, make sure that they were fun to play in, but at the same time, obviously, you felt as if you were getting something out of it as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like the junior organiser was like the main part of it. Like when the club doesn't have a junior organiser, then the junior competitions don't get organised, because I don't think. Because it is really, especially at my club, it's the club, like the committee members and the junior organiser that actually come up with the clubs and all like actually go through with them. So it's definitely important in that respect that they actually get involved and plan it.
You've obviously only been playing golf for 4 years. During that period of time, how many different junior organisers have you had? Have you just had the one, or has there been a few?
There has been a few actually. So I mean, my dad was like co-junior organiser for a time. So yeah, and so we've had like 2 to 3 junior organisers in the past 4 years. So yeah.
And actually, that's a good point, because that does happen quite often at clubs. And I'm sure you've been to other clubs whereby they've had a different junior organiser almost every year. And how difficult can it be for those to have a bit of the continuity and try and keep developing the juniors, even though the person at the top might be changing each year or every other year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in that respect, that like the continuity is very important to like, even for the juniors, to like know who to go to, because otherwise with the change every year, it can be quite confusing. But yeah, I don't really think that was really an issue at the club. It was more like, someone moved on and then the next person stepped in, sort of thing. I
suppose your dad is almost the perfect example, in the sense of a lot of the junior organisers tend to be relatives of a junior at the club.
Yeah.
We've got someone on the podcast who that isn't the case, who's almost not associated with any juniors within the club. How did that? Sometimes that might have helped you, having your dad be the junior organiser, but did that hinder you at some times as well?
Not really. Like, because like he was like junior organizer with another like parent, I think it was, it didn't really affect much anyway. Like it wasn't like, she's my daughter, we're going to put her in the team sort of thing. That never really happened. So yeah.
That's obviously Chloe talking about, well, a few things she's talking about there, but we'll cover a little bit. So she mentioned there about county league matches. You, a little while ago, Charles, you mentioned about the Golf Sixes, which, although it's not a league as such run by the county, it is matches against other clubs within the county. And how important is it that to development, the fact that they're not just playing at your own club, they get the opportunity to play other courses as well?
Oh, I think it's tremendously important. And actually, one of the people I met at Golf Sixes this year commented how he's junior organiser at Collingtree Golf Club. His son had started in Golf Sixes, and he's now playing in junior opens and at county level with other boys from other clubs that he met 7-8 years ago, and they've developed a friendship, and that's carried on through. I think the other thing, I think Chloe mentioned it. County girls is really important for the girls setup, because for whatever reason, you don't tend to have as many junior girls as boys. We do pretty well at Peterborough, but it's still probably only 20% are girls. Whereas at the county girls setup, you're playing with a lot of girls of your standard, getting to know them, making friendships. And I know our girls pretty much are all involved in the county setup now and love their time at county coaching and in county matches as well.
How many girls have you got at Towneley, Michael?
There's one on the books at the moment.
So how is it, you might not have exactly that scenario, Charles, but when you do have one, how important is it, we will actually ask Chloe about this a little bit later on as well, but how important is it, the fact that she feels part of it, the fact that it's not like I'm a girl, the rest of them are boys, it's the junior section as a whole. How important is it to try and have that community spirit where it doesn't matter what sex you are?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and actually golf's fantastic for that, because it's one of the few sports where the handicap system and the multi-tee system means anyone can play with anyone. You know, Chloe can play against Tiger Woods and have a great game of golf because of that system. So really at all levels, our beginners section is mixed, our Golf Sixes team is mixed, our junior league teams are mixed, right through to our elite golfers in the junior section play mixed golf. So it's all there. I do think it's useful to give the girls the opportunity to play together, though, and we do only about 3 or 4 times a year, but we run a girls coaching session just to help them develop friendships, perhaps the younger ones with the older ones that they look up to. So I think that's important to keep girls engaged with other girls, as well as the opportunity to play with the boys as well.
So I'll just explain the story to Michael, which you may have heard the story before, Charles, I don't know, but I've said this on the podcast previously. I was at a junior open a couple of years ago whereby they put out their start sheet, a lot of juniors playing in the event, probably 40, 50 juniors playing in the event, and they had 3 consecutive tee times whereby they had, and because they put them out in handicap order, they didn't do anything, they didn't try and fix the tee times, they just put them out in handicap order. And they had 3 consecutive tee times where they had one girl playing with 2 boys. And all 3 of those girls walked off the golf course and said to me, we all had exactly the same experience, and that was, it was a lonely round of golf for us. Because inevitably, and this is nothing against the boys because they were really nice boys, but inevitably, the 2 boys walked to the tee together, had a chat together, the girl went to the girls' tee. So basically, the 2 boys were talking to each other all the way around, and the girl was talking to no one. Now, it was a very simple solution to me in the sense that you just put those 3 girls together, and you put the 3 boys and the 3 boys together, in 2 groups, and that would have easily solved that situation. Is that something which you have to bear in mind, Charles, and you've done that similarly with your club?
Yeah, we do. We tend, so say our junior open, we'll try and have girls groups and boys groups, and the numbers don't always work like that. But I think girls' retention in golf, particularly as they get into the teenage years, it's important they have friends and they have social activities as well as the golf. And it's something we've worked really hard on over the years, and we're still only at 25%. But that's with a lot of hard work.
Now, you use the word retention there, and it's a point that I raised with Chloe as well. And obviously, you new to the role as the junior organiser, Michael. I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, Charles, how often the junior organiser changes at golf clubs. And that continuity, and also, credit to you, Michael, and also your wife as well, the fact that you're trying to learn the role very early on. But it can take a while to get yourself used to how it works, doesn't it, Charles? Yeah,
it does. And hopefully you'll get a lot of fulfillment from it, and you'll enjoy it, and you'll want to carry on. It's good, I think, if you've got someone who isn't a parent for a number of reasons, really. There's not a natural drop-off point. I mean, if somebody starts junior organiser with a 16-year-old son, there's a fair chance they won't carry on after 18. Our experience is myself and Derek have both been doing it for quite a long time now. But But also, I think there are occasions when it's helpful to be a little bit independent of the children. You know, you get an incident where somebody throws a golf club dangerously or something, or there's a rules dispute in a knockout or something like that. It's quite useful not to be the parent of one of them, because you can take an independent view. Having said that, parents are fantastically helpful to have involved, help with transport. If there's a day when I can't get to a match, I can rely on a number of my parents to stand in for me on the day and do the organisation on the day. So keep parents involved and invested. And there are some very good junior organisers who are parents, I have to say.
Obviously, we talked about the involvement there of juniors. What about how a junior perspective is important when organising the junior section? I spoke to Chloe about this, and she said that it is important that she is given a point of view at a golf club.
I think it's very important, you know, like especially as like a young ambassador as well. Volunteer, like trying to like encourage the volunteering in golf from a young age is like so important, because that is literally how golf is run, especially at a lot of clubs. It's volunteer work. You sort of have to put into the club and, you know, like promote it in your own way. So having especially young people's view as well is something that I'm very like passionate about almost, because, you know, I did a speech recently and we were saying about how you shouldn't make a decision about us like if we're not involved with the decision as well. So he's like, you can't really just presume that, oh, I think the juniors are like this. I think, you know, speak to the junior captains and stuff, make sure they have a role in the club as much as a normal captain would, for that example. In
your experience, how often does that happen at clubs whereby they do seek the views of the juniors?
Well, from like other young ambassadors' experiences as well, like there's been junior captain days, you know, the juniors are on the committee. I think my club are in the process of creating their own junior committee section that's run by the junior organiser and the club the junior captain. So that's the way you sort of get it involved, and making sure that, you know, the junior voices are heard as much as any other member.
On this podcast, we've got someone who's coming on who has just taken over as the junior organiser. So you, as a junior, this person comes into your club. What do you do? What would your advice be to them to say how to make me feel more at ease? How to make me feel as if, yes, you know, I can help you, and vice versa.
Yeah, I think definitely like having a plan sort of thing really helps. Like know how the junior is going to progress in that sense. Like you can recruit a junior, but how are you going to like keep it, like retain them throughout? So making sure there's like suitable competitions and stuff. For example, you know, make sure you don't book a competition during a holiday sort of thing, like during term time, like half terms, etc. Make sure to book the club out so then juniors can come in and play more, as well as like during the holidays and term times, making sure to promote the club, like academies and stuff for juniors to get involved with the club themselves, because, you know, if you don't promote it to the juniors, it's unlikely that they'll see it anyway. So
and also, I mean, you raised the point about their half terms and things like that. How aware should the junior organiser be of the fact that you have exams as well? You know, I don't know whether you are doing A levels at the moment, but you know, the GCSEs are coming up. Yeah. A levels as well. So how aware does the junior organiser have to be of not just your golf, but also your school as well?
Yeah, I think like making sure that's like aware of at least the school, how school works sort of thing is very important, because obviously there are going to be times of the year where, you know, especially like the teenager junior members are going to be less involved. So sort of promoting that, okay, we got the teenagers out of action for the next few months. Let's say we can promote the younger juniors and get some more of them involved, and sort of like, I don't really know how to say it, but like allowing them to take the role of the like older juniors and maybe promoting that even further.
So that's Chloe there talking about the junior perspective and how important it is to have that when organising the junior section there. Michael's been having a few issues with his internet connection, but we're delighted he's back here with us. So, so just on the point which Chloe was mentioning there, is that something which you've even thought of at your club, of trying to get the juniors involved and trying to actually speak to them and trying to get the idea of what they want from the club?
Yeah, so I've spoke to all the juniors and the guardians, and what we have done is set up a meeting so for January, and then just bring everybody together. And I want everyone just to put their ideas across how we can progress this, because for me this is like a blank canvas. I'm quite lucky in that way and unlucky in other ways. I'm lucky in the fact that it is a blank canvas and I can build on it, and hopefully over the years try and get it to anywhere near the levels of Peterborough's juniors, and then build on it from there. So yeah, we have got a meeting and a get together on that to bring ideas together.
Just explain, Mike, Charles, as well, that the role that the junior captain can play in all this.
Well, it's interesting, Steve. We've just got a new initiative at the club, which it's really opened my eyes. Actually, we have just formed a captains committee, and that is the men's captain, or the club captain, which traditionally has always been a man at our club, but could easily be a woman. The ladies captain or the women's captain, the seniors captain and the junior captain are now a committee, and they get together once a month just to talk about what's coming up, what's happened the last month. And that's been a really welcome development for me, and actually been quite enlightening listening to the junior captain, and his views on some of the things were a completely different perspective that I wouldn't have put onto it. And then the other thing, and I don't think we've done it enough as even a junior committee, wanting to get the juniors more involved in planning. So something I'm doing later this month, after our Christmas competition, we're going to get the outgoing junior captain, the incoming junior captain, and the junior vice captain together and say, right, here's the plans for next year. What do we think? Are there some extra things we should do? I think when I had a brief chat with one of them, they said, we don't know enough social stuff. Why don't we go bowling one night? So I'm looking forward to that and getting them more involved next year, because I think a lot will come out of it.
Obviously, I know you've just started in the role, Michael, but is that something even you've started doing now? Christmas is coming up. You know, there might be an opportunity just to get them together and do a little bit of a social thing, even now, between now and the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's not something that I've actually thought of yet. So they're really, really valuable points. We are yet having to appoint a junior captain, so that hasn't took place either yet. That's how far we've got with it, or how far behind we are, whichever way you want to look at it. So it's something I've spoke to the person who is going to be appointed captain, and he's got some fantastic ideas. So it's something we'll be setting up is that sort of junior committee to listen to them. I think that's the most important thing here, is we can come up with all the ideas in the world from, but it's got to suit, as Chloe said, it's got to suit them as well, in what they want out of golf.
Now, obviously, this is a massive subject, and being the junior organiser is such a big role. But if you like, we'll kind of finish with Charles, if you like. What would your advice be then to Michael about the things that he needs to do first of all, and look, you know, medium or short, medium, and long term, the things that he needs to do to progress the junior section?
I think. Well, first of all, enjoy it, Michael. There'll be some stressful times, but it's very, very rewarding. I was trying to think of some examples this morning, but if I think back to my first year, I can think of an 8-year-old who is now our junior captain, and a 7-year-old who is now our junior vice captain. And I've seen them progress from not having beginners lessons to now Kai is scratch, Ellie is 5 handicap, playing county golf, both of them. and that's extremely rewarding. But equally, it's not just about elite golf. We've had some that have come through the junior section, maybe got to 20 handicap, but now golf is their game and in their 20s and still loving golf and having a great social time through it. So I think if you can think about progression, how you get beginners involved, how you get them out on the golf course, how you get their handicaps, for some of them, how you get them into elite golf, but for others, how you get them to continue enjoying golf, hopefully as long as I have.
It's funny though, isn't it, the fact that we 45 minutes we've been talking about this subject, and we haven't talked really at all about the results, or whether someone gets to a scratch handicap, or whether someone goes on to become a professional golfer, or things like that, because that's really, certainly for myself, and I think you probably agree with me on this, Charles, that's not necessarily the priority, is it? It's great when that happens. We're fortunate. We've both come from a county which had Charlie Hull, who's come through the junior section. We've seen her go on to become a world superstar. Robin Williams, who's from Peterborough Milton Golf Club, who's doing very well in the DP World Tour event, today. That's great, isn't it? But you get as much enjoyment out of the fact of getting someone at the age of 6 and them still playing the game at the age of 20, 25, or whatever it happens to be. Not losing them to another sport, or not losing them to golf completely.
And another thing, just briefly, Steve, golfing, I'm biased. I love golf. It's given me probably a lot of the social skills I've got. As a 12-year-old, I could not have stood up in front of a group of people and spoken. I'd have just died with embarrassment. And golf was through being a captain and talking to people and so on. And actually, probably one of the best bits of feedback I've ever had was from some parents at Golf Sixes last year. And they said, "You've given my son huge amounts of confidence," and that's brilliant. I mean, that if you can do things like that, and people, not only do you turn out fine young golfers, you turn out fine young men and fine young ladies, then that's what it's all about.
Now, when I introduced you into this, Michael, I said that you contacted me, a couple of weeks ago and said, I'd love to get some advice on how to become a junior organiser. I hope that what we've done here is giving you a little bit of an inkling. I mean, we could be, if we're being honest, we could be on this for 2-3 hours talking about all the things that you may or not be able to do, kind of thing. But I hope this is giving you an idea about what you can do, and giving you a little bit of the tips. Is there anything is there anything you want to ask us, whereby we might be able to give you a little bit more assistance?
Yeah. How would you manage the gap in not the age, it's the handicap, the ability? So you mentioned about some going out on the Red Sea, some doing the blue tees at 150 yards. How do you, apart from a social side, how would you bring them all together to do, say, a competition? Because our handicaps are so vast. We've got a player off scratch, and then we've got some who don't have handicap, who obviously idolise the players off scratch. So how would you advise sort of baby steps into getting them all together, apart from a social event, because the age gap is so vast as well? What would you suggest, if anything is possible for that?
I tend to try and put them out in handicap brackets, so the lower handicaps do tend to play together. But also you get to know the personalities as well, and actually some of the youngsters are quite happy to play with they love playing with the lower handicaps. Others would find it a bit daunting, so you kind of just got to measure that. And I can think of one of my juniors who would find it terrifying to play with the lower handicappers at the moment. So she plays with the higher handicappers, which she's very happy about. The other thing is try and get them to play socially together. So, I mean, I've been very lucky of having some very good golfers who are quite happy to play with young, inexperienced golfers and really look after them and give them advice. You need the right personalities, but so getting them over that hill of being worried about playing with a really good golfer, just going out for 9 holes with them can help. And then if they do end up drawn with them in a competition, they've done it before. So it's probably baby steps, but just do it gradually.
There's one thing, we're running a competition next Friday, week on Friday, where we're doing night golf. So a little bit different. Charles on a lot of occasions there has used the word fun. That's just going to be a fun competition because it's completely different from anything else you're going to play. But within that, we're doing a team competition. And what we're doing is we are splitting up the handicaps. So we are having what you mentioned there. We are having the 16, 17 who's off single figures. But in the same team is some 54s handicappers. There are some players, I think the youngest one is 6 years old. So what we need to do what we are doing is we are giving the team leader the opportunity to be the team leader. So therefore you say, look, you have a little bit of responsibility today. You need to, it's your team. If you want to win this competition, then you need to bring along this very young golfer and make sure that they feel part of your team. So you give them a little bit of responsibility. That's one way of doing it. And also, even within that team format, we bring in an element whereby that young golfer still has an opportunity to contribute. So for example, within that format, we've done it whereby, it's only played over 9 holes. Each player has to have at least one tee shot that they use. So it's Texas Scramble, but they have to use one of those tee shots. So therefore, at some point during that round, if that very young golfer manages to hit the ball down the middle, then they are the top person on that hole. They're the one, we're using your tee shot. So it gives them I have contributed. And then when they play the shots from then onwards, you play them in reverse order. So you always have that high handicapper hitting the first shot, so therefore they always feel as if they've got the opportunity to, there's nothing worse than standing next, with the 3 or 4 handicapper and then putting it to 2 feet or whatever, and full well that I haven't got a prayer of hitting it closer than that. So there are ways of being able to make it fun and competitive for the good players, but at the same time it's appropriate for the younger and the high handicappers as well.
No, great advice, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions then? I know we are running out of time and I know you need to get back to work and all that.
No, I'm fine. No, I'm sure when I get off this, I'll have a load of questions for you both. And no, it's been a pleasure. And a lot of information's come out, so thank you very much.
All right. Well, look, so this is the Progress Junior Golf podcast. We've been covering junior golf organisers today, just to give you a heads up on what podcast we've got coming up. This is the 49th podcast we've done. So we've got one more before we reach the half century. So we're going to do one between now and Christmas. And then next year, we're going to do some more as well. We're going to be looking at Girls Golf Rocks, which has now been renamed Get Into Golf Rookie. So it's not just at girls golf, it's looking at younger golfers as well. And we're going to do one, and the irony about this is that I didn't know that Charles was going to mention this word on so many occasions today, but we're going to do one called Junior Golf is Fun. And we're going to look at all the different elements that you can bring into the game of golf, junior golf, which is a little bit different. I mentioned there the night golf. We might well be doing a little bit of video and get a few interviews with people from that, just to give, it's not just all about playing your 18 holes and 9 holes, just bringing little different elements of how to make junior golf fun. So thanks very much to Michael. Thanks very much to Charles for joining us on the podcast. Thanks so much as well for Chloe for doing a pre-recorded interview. And we shall see you very soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Don't go to wait.